As the Blue Lock story has progressed and characters have continued to grow in skill, there are 11 main players who have grown the most and shown great potential when it comes to their soccer abilities. These 11 are known as the Blue Lock 11. And I believe that not only will Isagi surpass them, but Isagi will also surpass other characters like the new Gen 11 as well. With this combination of IQ, playmaking, and physical abilities, I believe that Isagi Yoichi will surpass everyone in Blue Lock. Although a lot of other characters have abilities like their amazing power with their kicks like Kunigami, some players have speed skills like Chigiri, and other players are really good at dribbling like Bachara and Karusu, Isagi had a different weapon from everybody else's. His weapon wasn't something physically based. Isagi always had great vision over the field, and although it wasn't as prominent in the earlier stages of the series, as time went on, he was able to see plays before they happened and even make some of his own. Because Isagi never had the physical body like Baro, Kunigami, or Ryusei. Those three were able to push defenders out of their way with their strength and then go score goals of their own. But Isagi had to find a different way to score goals and make plays. So instead of relying on physical attributes like speed and strength, Isagi began to develop a godlike understanding of the field. So even if you are stronger and faster than him, he would still see a play before you can. We've seen glimpses of Isagi's transcendent vision, but it's brought to another level in the Neo Egoist League. In a match versus the Manshine City team, Isagi begins observing one of the new Gen 11 players on his team, Kaiser. Now, Isagi, wanting to surpass Kaiser, begins observing how he plays and tries to see what he can change about himself in order to get to that level of skill. He sees that Kaiser doesn't use his eyes the same as the other players. Kaiser minimizes the amount of time he spends looking at the ball and instead begins turning his head and scouting the entire field, and inputting all of the information from his central and peripheral vision into his mind, which allows him to see like a fourth dimensional god viewing from above. When Isagi got on the field, he tries to replicate this, and he's actually able to get it on the first try, which may seem kind of plot armory, but it is explained soon after. While he's using it for the first time, he is actually able to see through Nagi and Aki's play and get to the perfect point in order to stop them in their tracks. Stealing the ball, and after telling Nagi his creativity is nothing more than a plaything to him, we are able to see Isagi force his way through Manshine's offense with metavision. He begins coordination with Corona, and together they are able to easily cook the defense of the opposing team because Isagi can just see so much further than everyone else. After getting near the goal, Corona passes the ball to the perfect place in order for Isagi to score, but the only man who can see at the same level of Isagi appears in front of him and welcomes him to his dimension. This does throw off Isagi, but he still attempts to shoot the ball through Kaiser's legs. And he would have ended up missing anyways, but Kunigami comes in, snatches the ball out of the air, and scores for himself. And even though this infuriates Isagi, we cut to Noah, who tells him not to let this break him, because metavision is a ticket to becoming the world's best and can lead him right to Noah himself, showing that even though Isagi currently only excels in direct shots and metavision, he does have the potential to be the best striker. And remember how I said that Isagi was able to copy Kaiser's metavision his first try? Yeah, it was sort of like plot armor, but that is the story of Isagi's character. Isagi has always grown at a faster pace than everyone else. If you look at everybody at the beginning of the manga, they all started off better than Isagi, and even though everybody else does grow as well, Isagi started off slow and over time was able to pick up speed and progress past everyone else. And although Isagi is aiming to be a striker right now, the entirety of the manga we have mainly seen Isagi in the attacking midfield positions, and I'm talking about more so in the Neo Egoist League or the U20 versus Japan match. Isagi has always thrived in the midfield, and this is because of Isagi's great vision. And this is because of the tools that Isagi has. Being in the midfield, he is able to see everything on offense and defense and is able to react to plays before anybody else can get there. We see that there's multiple times throughout the series where Isagi is able to make great defensive plays as well as offensive plays. And although it wasn't as apparent at the start, Isagi has developed both a lefty shot and a direct shot. Now, though we were getting glimpses of Isagi's direct shot, we never got to see him shoot as much as other characters like Ren or Ryusei or Baro, and this is because even though Isagi has ego, he isn't as selfish when it comes to playing on the field. Because at the end of the day, Isagi just wants his team to score so they can win, and he will do anything it takes in order to win, which you can view as an ego within itself. Because although some people think that ego is purely self-driven, Ego can also be when it comes to winning a match. As long as you're on the other team, Isagi will do anything in his power to crush you. And although throughout the beginning of the series you see that Isagi is also very centered on crushing his teammates, as time goes on, he becomes more centered on crushing his opponents. Because there are times instead of Isagi taking a shot himself, if he sees a more optimal shot for a teammate, he will pass it to them so they can score and his team will win the match. We saw this when he passed the ball to Kunigami, and Kunigami actually condemned Isagi for making this decision because Kunigami expected Isagi to be more selfish than that. And what Kunigami was missing here, and what a lot of other characters actually seem to lack, is the intelligence behind Isagi's decision. He passed because it was the optimal play for them to win the game. He sees plays and makes them because these are the optimal plays in order for his team to win. And remember when Ego was telling everybody, in terms of soccer, you need to turn a 0 into 1? Every single player just automatically interpreted that as them needing to be the only person who turns a 0 into 1, which is what led everybody in the Blue Lock facility to be purely self-driven, so they wanted to be the ones to score all the goals. But there were a few people who understood the true meaning behind turning a 0 into 1, and that is creating an efficient system on the field in order for your team to win. And the first time we see this happen is actually with Baro's team. We know that in the Blue Lock selection matches, Baro's team was running a system where they fed him goals. Yes, all of these people wanted to be known themselves, but they understood that in order for the team to move on, they needed to win. So instead of just scoring all the goals by themselves, they fed Baro. And we see that Nico plays great defense, and he is also able to see plays as well, sort of similar to Isagi. Nico is another example of somebody who listened to Ego Jinpachi, and instead of just wanting to be purely self-driven, he sees that being an overall playmaker is better for the field. These players like Nico and Isagi are the types of players that tend to grow the most, because not only do they build themselves up, but they build up the people around them as well. The best example I can give for this is Sai Itoshi and Ryusuke Shido in the Blue Lock 11 vs Japan U20 match. Yes, Shido was already a great striker himself, but when he was teamed up with Sai could send him passes that only Ryusei himself could reach. Sai was able to make up plays that only Ryusei and himself would see coming. Sai would make passes that would bring out the best in Ryusei, where Ryusei would have to use the best of his physical abilities in order to reach the passes and score goals. Sai is the example of somebody who just being on the field and playing with your teammates makes your teammates even better. And that is the exact type of person you want on your team. Because yes, we know that Ren is extremely skilled. We know that Baro is extremely skilled. Same with Kunigami and Chigiri as well. But if they had somebody like Sai Itoshi on their team who could supply them beautiful passes and see plays more than anybody else could, then it would make them even better. And this is exactly why Ryusei shined so much in the Japan vs Blue Lock 11 match, because he had someone like Sai Itoshi on his team. And as you can sort of see where I'm getting with this, Isagi is like Sai Itoshi. Now yes, Isagi does want to be more striker oriented than Sai. We know that Sai has just been pushed to the midfield completely, and although Isagi has been playing in the midfield more than the striker position, especially recently, we know that Isagi is gaining more striker tools like a new left shot and better meta vision to supply him while being in the striker position. So not only will Isagi have all of these similar tools like Sai does, and not only does Isagi also make his teammates better, Isagi himself is becoming better and gaining more tools that can be used in the striker position. And another thing about Isagi's ego is that even though he does want to devour his teammates and he does want to devour his opponents as well, he isn't too selfish to ask for help. We saw that he actually asked Kunigami how to learn the left shot that Kunigami has. And that is why Isagi is beginning to develop a left shot of his own, because he realizes that if he can grab tools from other people along with the tools that he has himself, he can become the most formidable striker there is. And another underappreciated thing that Isagi has is his amazing defense. If you were to say that Isagi has S tier offense, his defense would be A tier or arguably S tier itself. There are so many great defensive plays that Isagi has made that you could almost say he is just as good at a defender position as he is going forward. He was even able to stop Chris Prince's shot when nobody else could, and Chris Prince is known as the second best striker in the world. Isagi's ability to play defense with his ability to play offense does just make him one of the most versatile attackers in Blue Lock. There are people in the Blue Lock 11 who have been more oriented around the defender positions, like Nico, and now even and Reo, but Nico and Reo aren't as good going forward as Isagi is. Isagi is the only person out of the Blue Lock 11 who is just as good on offense as he is on defense. And although it does just seem like everything in the Blue Lock facility is only oriented around scoring goals, Isagi has shown everyone that it is possible to do both at a high level. And with his ability to gain new abilities like his lefty shot, and with Isagi's way of devouring higher and higher level opponents the more the story goes on, I fully believe that with all of his abilities combined with his high IQ and his vision on the field, Isagi Yoichi undoubtedly will surpass everyone in Blue Lock. With that being said, I want to thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. If you enjoyed, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I do post on different topics that you guys give me and a few that I come up with on my own. Thank you so much. See you next time.